Hi, everybody. I'm Doron Kornbluth from Mosaic Press, and it is my great honor to introduce you to the author of this amazing sefer, The Six Steps of Bitachon, a practical guide to divine providence, by Rabbi Chaim Goldberger. Shalom Aleichem, Rabbi. How are you?
Aleichem Shalom. I'm very well. How are you?
Wonderful. I want to say it's a real pleasure to actually speak to you like this. We've been in email contact and the occasional phone call, and I feel close to you after many years. What year did this actually come out? I know
I
it's been
think it's
reprinted many.
2016, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
so we really started working together 5 years ago, 2015,
Right.
and since then you've done a second book, the book that you did on Masechet Brachos,
Yes.
beautiful sefer, and but it's nice to actually communicate this way. So maybe you can. I know that right now Bitachon, trust in Hashem, is a real subject for people because many of us felt until Corona that there was some stability to life. We kind of had, maybe you had a job, you had your health, whatever it was, and suddenly, boom, the world is just nothing. So, how does a person build their bitachon in the modern framework and what we're dealing with now? What do you recommend to people?
Well, first you have to recognize that Bitachon is a real thing. Bitachon is an actual phenomenon that enables us to use a formula, to use a system in order to be able to trust Hashem, to get what we need, and to know that we have the level of trust to justify receiving what it is that we need. It can be calculated, it can be understood with clarity, and it requires a step-by-step process of growth, but it can be done. That's the first thing that has to be understood. The second thing that has to be understood is that it must be done because bitachon is not just a high level of attainment for holy people. Bitachon is a mitzvah in the Torah. Every Jew is obligated to live with bitachon, which means we need to each understand our own levels. We're not all going to be on the same level of bitachon, but there is a level that every one of us must identify and then begin to practice. And all that is explained in the book to discover how we know that it's an actual obligation, and then how to get a hold of it, how to get in touch with it, and how to build it.
So thank you. That's a wonderful beginning. I was actually, I've been actually very gratified by the sefer. I don't know if all of our viewers have read it yet or seen it yet. I think most people have actually. It's done extraordinarily well. It's been reprinted, I don't know how many times, 3 times, 4 times. I mean, it's been out.
I think we're on the third printing now.
Yeah, which is wonderful. And it's hit a real chord. And I think that you're right. I think that the unique thing that you bring to the subject is a system instead of just a vague thing. It's an actual system. So our interview here is very short. Maybe we can speak again at some point in the future. Can you describe for our friends, our viewers, our listeners, just in a minute, like what the system means? How does it work?
Sure. It's essentially about identifying two essential elements. One is what it is that I am trying to attain. Is it a need or is it a want? The way that I understand bitachon is God's guarantee of our needs, which means in order for us to be able to plug in the system and have it work effectively and consistently, we have to be able to identify our needs as opposed to our wants. Of course, that doesn't mean that we cannot have our wants met. We certainly can, and we should daven and we should pray for those needs to be met. But
Those wants.
for those wants, yes, for those wants. Thank you, for those wants to be met. But if it's something that we can identify as a need, we can use the system of bitachon and be assured of receiving it. So that's the first element that's crucial in the 6 steps, is clarifying what exactly are our needs as opposed to our wants. The second element is the recognition that there is some kind of effort that the Almighty expects of us. And that is what we call hishtadlus, or hishtadlut, if you prefer. And it is a calculable amount of effort. And so the other crucial step in the 6 steps is determining exactly how much effort is my role in this process, so that I know that when I do my part, I can count on God doing his part.
So it reminds me of the story that I think you tell in the book about your son looking for. Can you share that with us briefly?
Well, there are a number of stories. I tell in the book. My son was looking for a notebook at one point. He had misplaced it, and he needed it for class. And he was fairly desperate to find it. And I reminded him that we know about the six steps of Bitachon. And he said, of course. And so he implemented the 6 steps. Using the six steps requires a chavruta, requires an outside party to bounce your ideas off of. And so I served in that role for him. And we determined how much his hishtadlut would have to be. And he would have to check a certain number of rooms thoroughly. And we defined exactly what that meant. And he went through the process. And in doing so, he wound up uncovering the notebook that he was looking for, in a place that he had previously checked and not seen it. And after going through the 6 steps, he went back and he found it, and he realized it was because he had trusted Hashem, and he felt the trust in his heart. He could feel that with his amount of effort and knowing that he was going to put in that effort, he was able to feel a sense of trust. And it was that feeling. Bitachon ultimately is a feeling. We define that in the book. Source of it is actually a Beis Halevi, and he felt that feeling, and he knew that he was going to find it. And in fact, he found it in a place that prior he had looked and had not found it in that spot. Looked again, there it was.
Amazing. Rabbi, it's been a real pleasure. I think that in these times, focusing on Bitachon is even more important than it used to be, because we are sometimes feeling the stress and the uncertainty of life. So thank you for your offering this to Kal Yisrael, and I understand why it's been so popular. This is Chaim Goldberger from Mosaic Press. Thank you very much, and I hope we'll be able to speak again.
Thank you, Durham.
Okay, all the best.